All right, so we're recording. I got Steve joining me in just a second with some Q&A. Producer Jonathan here. What's up? So first ever blab. I'm over here overwhelmed looking at all these controls, but excited to get into this. So here we go. I see Steve's giving me high five to you too, brother. High five. But oh yeah, I gave you some props. So this is all new. I got inspired by Gary Vee's book, Ask Gary Vee, to just get on live once in a while, do some Q&A, and hopefully provide you with more value. So what I'm going to do is I'll have some of you guys who are calling in, I'll bring you on the line if I figure out how to do it. If not, you'll just be putting those questions in the chat. But the idea today is to keep it short. We're going to keep this at 30 minutes or less, not more, because I've got other appointments after this, but we're going to keep it at 30 minutes. And the point here is for me to answer your questions about podcasting, how to build your brand, how to grow your list, how to make money with your show. And just in case you don't know who I am, which would be weird if you're at my blab or watching this video, you don't know who I am, but I am Jonathan Rivera from the Podcast Factory. I help you get on top, baby. Get on top. Woo. Get on top with the Podcast Factory. Anybody seeing Jonathan? I don't know. Are people seeing me? Is my video on? I see him. All right, Max sees me. What I'm going to do, Steve, is I'm going to drop you real quick, and you can try calling back in. All right, so I dropped Steve. I see that man Max is here. You and I got some catching up to do, my friend. Scruffy? My face is scruffy? Really? Come on. This is a beautiful man mane. All right. So the idea here is to just do some Q&A. And like I said, I'm Jonathan Rivera, executive producer at the Podcast Factory. I was counting them up yesterday. No, it was this morning, actually, about 4:30 this morning. Right now, I'm working on 15 shows. I co-host 6 shows. I am on nearly every day of the week with people who I consider my mentors, people who have helped me in my business, who have helped me grow and learn. And I feel grateful for that. And a little selfish that I get to hang out with them. But the unselfish part is I share it with you. So let's see. So Max, you want to come on? I want to do some Q&A for you guys. Anthony logged in. What's up, Anthony? And by the way, I invited all my subscribers. That's me, Podcast Mogul, print newsletter. I'm probably the only guy in podcasting with a paid print newsletter, Podcast Mogul. So I got some credibility here. I see Max coming in. So let's see if I can do this correctly. Accept.
All right. Hello. Can you hear me?
Whoa. You know what? I have my volume all the way up because I'm just talking.
And I'm already a loud person at times. So, all right. Are you good now?
Yeah. What's up, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Awesome. So let me ask you this. You are considering podcasting, right? And you subscribe to the Podcast Mogul newsletter. Did you get it?
It's the 6th. I hope today I get it, but no, it's not in the mail yet.
Oh,
or it's not in my mailbox, I should say yet.
It'll be there soon, but that's the beauty of a print newsletter. And so you're thinking about starting a podcast. So I figured I'd bring you on and maybe you can tell everybody a little bit about yourself and then just hit me with some questions that you have, since I know it's the next 30 days or so where you're going to do it.
Okay, yeah. So in my case, I'm Max. Hi, everybody. I come from, I'm an email marketer essentially, and I just help people, coaches, speakers, and authors specifically use a lot of Ben Settle's methods of daily email practices and other people that I admire, so that way they can become thought leaders in a shorter amount of time. And what I'm interested in is noticing that because I write daily emails, some things are just inappropriate for that short time and space. So a podcast would allow me to just talk more and expound more, as well as other things that I'm introducing to my business. So my immediate questions are, yes, in the next 90 days, I want to introduce like my main, let's call it a flagship podcast. But in the meantime, I've been thinking about getting more familiar with the experience. What if I were to repurpose the emails that I have as having a video and an audio portion for people that don't like to read in their inbox. So that way I'm attracting new people as well as maintaining the list that I have. So I don't know if you've ever done this yourself, but I know that you, and again, Ben, you guys kind of talk about this from time to time. Am I approaching this in the right way, or should I just focus my best energy on the main podcast?
All right. So, Max, thank you for being here, first of all. And then let me make sure I understand your question. So you're doing the podcast in the next 90 days, like the main flagship podcast, as you called it. But right now you're thinking of just doing a trial run where you're going to use your emails. You're just going to read them and turn them into video and an audio feed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea. It's going to be different than your main podcast, but if you're a little bit nervous about it or if you're unsure, that's a great way to get started. Although it is a lot of extra work to do the video along with that. So I would say it's even easier for you to just read those things into your I don't even have my phone here, but into your phone and turn them into audio content that you can send out without doing all the work of putting it on iTunes and all that, unless you want to do that. Because if you want to do extra work.
And that's really what the question is multifaceted. So the other part is, am I overthinking it? Because I do know it's going to be an extra, who knows, maybe like an extra hour a day or however I batch it out. So is it worthwhile to do this? Because I imagine there's some benefit of building my list and attracting new people to the Max experience, as it were. Or is there... I just want to know, am I anchoring it in false assumptions? Or is there something strategic I could be doing?
I will tell you what, podcasting is very bad for building your list.
Okay, you see, that's what I didn't know.
So I tell people this all the time. They hate to hear it, and I talk people out of podcasting because it's great, because you said two things: the Max experience and attracting them to that, and then you said the podcasting, building your email list. Two separate things. So building your audience, for sure, giving them another way to connect with you, giving them another way to get to know you, to hear your tone, to just have a deeper connection with you. Super great idea. And it's easy to do. I mean, the audio thing, you don't even necessarily have to put it into iTunes and do all the extra work, but you could just create those audio snippets. I've seen Ryan Lebeck for a while, instead of doing a podcast, what he did was record short audios on his phone and then just post them up on like Google Drive or Dropbox for people to download. Hey, you don't want to read these? Get the audio version. Cool. And he did it like that. Or you can make it an extension of your email. So instead of reading your email straight into the program, you could make some commentary about your email or take it a level deeper or something like that. So it's an attachment to your email, and that would get you moving in the right direction.
Okay, I like that. And I also have I'm building out a print newsletter, so I was saving that experience for that add-on. But yeah, I like the way that you're going of bridging the two. So okay, I can play with that more.
Yeah, so absolutely. So that should be easy. And then as far as getting your show together, 15, 20 minutes is the way I roll. I lay a bunch of stuff out for you in the Podcast Mogul newsletter. Awesome. But 15, 20 minutes, topic-based, and you already know your audience by now, right? You've done some audience research. And
it's ongoing, because everything I'm doing is, because of the method that you and I use with email, everything's happening really, really fast. So it's like, wow, all right. So I'm trying to keep up with my own success. But yeah, with that, I've learned a lot about my audience. So it's getting tighter every day.
Cool. So if you got any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. I see somebody's calling in that has an egg for a picture, so I'm afraid.
Go to that person. If I have any other questions, I'll chat
Pop back in. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks,
I
Max.
exit out, or do you exit me out?
I'll hook you up.
All right, cool.
Put the big hook. Off stage.
I'm fun, man.
All right, so Steve, whoever was calling in ditched right as I hung up on Max. So, gang, if you've got questions and you don't have access to a camera or a microphone, you can drop them in the chat right here. If not, I'm just going to end the show right here. Not really. I came prepared with some questions, but I prefer you folks that are here, I answer your questions, because that's the point. Ask Producer Jay what you need to know about podcasting. So drop them in the chat or call in. I'll hook you up. If not, I'm going to go start looking over here for some questions I can answer that have come into email and stuff like that. So let me just bring up my email, and I see some questions coming in, so I will get to you guys right now. All right. Am I talking too fast? Should I slow down? Should I slow down? All right. So, all right. Anthony's got a question. Anthony, here is, who's this calling in? So we'll get Anthony's. First, I'm hitting the wrong button. Whoever was trying to call in, I dropped you by mistake. Please try again. Oops. I don't know what I'm doing. No. All right. So, Anthony, here we go. Show callers. I will accept this. And Anthony, I will get to you in just a moment. I see Philip's calling in. So Philip, while you're calling in, I'm going to answer Anthony's question real quick. Anthony asks, what's your opinion on daily podcasts, short 5 to 10 minute shows? What is my opinion? It's a lot of work, and I've seen people do it and get burnt out. But it really depends, Anthony. What is your purpose for thinking about a daily podcast? Feed that back to me and let me understand, because I can't say yes or no until I understand what you're trying to do and what the purpose behind it is. So Philip's still dialing in. Let's see. Anthony's other question is, any successful daily podcasts you know? Well, we had one that we worked on the network. It was the Selling on Azon. James J. Jones was doing the Selling on Azon show, and it was good. He got a ton of downloads. He built his audience. He has a huge vault of content. I think he got up to nearly 200 shows, and he loved it. He said anywhere he went, trade shows and different things like that, people knew him, and he was able to use all that daily content to put on, like, what did he put it on? Those little zip drives or whatever, flash drives, and gave them out at conferences. And he said it was great for connecting with people. So it will build your audience, but it will also burn you out. And that's what happened with James J. Jones Selling on Azon. After a while, he's like, I don't know if I can come up with any more topics. So the way I look at things is I look at it from an ROI mindset. So that's thinking long term, not just what we do today. So instead of having those 163 shows like he did in a matter of 6 months, my approach would be spreading that stuff out, longer form content, at least 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. That's what we do at the Podcast Factory, and spreading that out weekly so that you're building a long-lasting connection with your audience. And if you look at all the work that we do, it's weekly shows, 20 minutes. That's the formula that has worked for us. It's a formula that I've been perfecting since 2009. This is what works best right now. It could change, but the daily thing is going to be a burden, and, well, my take on it, the daily thing is going to be a burden. So it looks like Philip can't get through. All right. So Philip, I'm going to drop you and let you try to dial in again. All right. So question. My fear is exactly all right. I think I got you. So gang, remember, call in and we can talk live, which I would love. If you can't call in because you don't have a camera or a microphone, drop your question in the chat. We're doing Q&A here. All right, show callers. Now we got people calling in. Let's see what we get here. It could go crazy. So let me get to Steve Rosenbaum. He's actually dialing in, and Philip is trying again. So Steve dropped a question in the chat. I think it's a question. I have a friend with a 60-minute radio show. Would he be best to post replay? Would he be best to post replay as one podcast or divide into 3 20-minute episodes per week? So you're asking if he should split up his 60-minute show into smaller segments. Here's the thing, it depends on the show. All my answers are always, I want to ask more questions, but what is he doing on that 60-minute show? Is there segments? Is there topics? Are there guests? A lot of times, there's guys that do interviews, and I've noticed that the short interview is okay, but a longer interview allows for the person being interviewed to open up, to get comfortable, and to start sharing things that they may not have otherwise shared. And so I've done that before. I was on, what is his, man, I can't remember the show. I think his Bryce Prescott. Oh man, I'm screwing up his name. Anyways, Rules of Success is the name of the show, and it was a 60-minute show, and I was afraid. I'd never done a 60-minute interview, and by the end of it, he was asking me all these great questions, and I started sharing stuff that I wouldn't normally share because I have a set agenda on short-form content, and so the long form allowed me to relax and open up. So, I mean, it depends. He could repurpose it that way, Steve, but it might not make sense. It really is just how his show is structured. I do certain things at the Podcast Factory the way I do them, because the way I look at it, a sitcom, a half-hour show on television, that's 22 minutes max. And that's about the attention span of people. So I keep my shows short. I keep them to 22 minutes, and I have a very simple formula. Keep them wanting more. So I don't want them to get tired of me. I want them to listen to the show and want more, because then they're going to be waiting for my show next week, or they're going to be diving back into my content that I've done before and consuming that. So that's my formula for the 20-minute show. Everybody's different. I have a certain way of doing things at the Podcast Factory. Doesn't mean it's right for you, but it's right for what I'm trying to do, because I'm trying to move people into more of my content or into a call to action to go to my website or to go buy something. All right, so Steve, it looks like we're having, I don't know what the problem is here. We can't get you on. I don't know why we can't get Philip on. Max got on though, so I know it can't completely be me. All right. So, gang, drop your questions here. If not, oh, he had to restart. Max had to restart his computer to be able to get on. Tip for you. So, gang, drop your questions in the chat. If not, I'm going to read some questions that I got sent to me and do work on those answers while you figure it out. I see some familiar faces up here. I see some Podcast Mogul subscribers. What's up, Jennifer? I know you got questions. Hit me in the chat. Let me know what's up. All right. So another question from Max here. Thank you, Max. Keeping me engaged here. All right, so I see Philip will not give up. I respect you, Philip. It's even moving me out of the top spot. I don't like that. Get me on top. All right. Whatever. Yeah, I'm not going to give up my top spot. All right. So let's see what we got here. Get on top, right? So here is a question from that man Max. How do you make a 60-minute or longer interview sound appealing to the guest who might not immediately see the value of a 60-plus-minute interview? I think the podcast world is jaded right now. 60 minutes sounds like a long time, and then you look at people like Tim Ferriss who do 4-hour shows, and you're like, how the heck do people listen to that? And the key here is knowing your market. And actually, I talk about that a lot inside the first podcast module. Shameless plug. That's right. Knowing your market is the key. So the interview itself doesn't have to be the appealing thing. Knowing your market, how they think, what their pains are, what their fears, what they most want. That's going to be how you position that interview to be something of interest to them, because you tie all of that into their needs, pains, fears, everything you know about them, so that you can make it appealing. So let's see, any other questions, gang? Here we go. Oh, Philip, it doesn't look like you're going to get on today. You should just drop your question in the chat. All right, so Jennifer says, I was late, sorry. No need to be sorry. Yeah, Philip is getting the top spot. You know what? I'm getting a little antsy about it. Get out of here. Get out of here, Dad. That's why I'm not letting him on. I'm just kidding. But all right, Jennifer, no worries. Late, on time, doesn't matter. You're here. That's what counts. So, Jennifer's question. How do you know when you're ready to start your podcast? What level of success should you have in your business first? Ooh, I like that. So what level of success should you have in your business? I am a stickler about this, and it's a comical thing that most of the time I talk people out of podcasting. So there's a couple things I ask people, actually 3 things I ask people to know if they're ready. You want to know what they are? Of course you do. So number 1, I ask them, how big is your email list and how often are you in touch with them? So why am I asking this? Number 1, if you don't have an email list, you don't need a podcast. That's all there is to it. Number 2, how often are you in touch with them? If you email your list once every quarter, then they don't know who the hell you are. So go back to the drawing board, get like me and Max do, following the Ben Settle method, start emailing every day so that your list knows you, and then you can add that. Question number 2, what are you selling? What? You need something for sale? Hell yeah, podcasting is expensive. You're going to have to pay for your equipment. You're going to have to pay for your hosting. You're going to have to pay big buckaroos to hire me and my team to do it for you. You need to be making money. So if you don't have anything for sale and you're not already making money, then you don't need to be podcasting. Now, the way these 2 things fit together is if you've got an email list who knows you, if you've got a customer list who are buying from you, then a podcast will help you connect that. So you got your email list and your podcast and your customers, right? Your podcast in the middle of that will help you turn more of your email list into customers. All right? So that is super important. You need to have the money to do it. You need to have the time to do it. And you need to have a stable business to be able to add this onto it. If you don't have an email list, you should start working on that first, because that's really going to be where you get the most value in your business, is from your email list or your data bank, whatever you want to call it. And last but not least, I like to ask people, and I'd like to ask you, if you're willing to share here, why do you want to podcast? And that's a question I'll ask any of you in the room, because I always find this interesting. What makes you want to podcast? So those are 3 questions. How big is your email list? How often are you in touch with them? That's a double. What are you selling? And why do you want to podcast? Anybody care why you want to podcast? Share with me. Let's see. Any other questions? Hopefully that answers your questions, Jennifer. And I'd definitely like to hear more about your business, or if you want to come up. Okay. All right. So we got 7 more minutes, and I didn't get to. Let's see. So good follow-on question from Max. Does size matter? So the size of the email list actually doesn't matter that much. Not as much as how often are you emailing them. And the reason I ask the size of the email list is to know whether you've been list building. If you know how to list build, if you put any effort into that, I'll know, because you have 10 subscribers, and I know you haven't been working on your email list, and you could do a better job of that first. But more important than that is how often are you in touch with them? Because that's where the connection is made, is by how often they're hearing from you. Because if people are hearing from you daily and they love you and they want more, now a podcast is another way to give them more, another way to give you something to write about, and another way to connect those people who are just on your email list and convert them into customers. What an interesting question. So Jennifer says, yes, that was very helpful. Have a little work to do, but I'm close to being ready. All right, that's good. I like to hear that. I like to hear that. Keep moving forward, keep working on those things, and it'll come together. Especially if you're doing like the stuff that Max and I talked about from Ben Settle, those daily emails. That's going to help to make you a content machine, and then you won't be able to get enough content out, and then you're going to start saying, what else can I do? What else can I do? I can add a podcast to this. So let's see. Anthony asked a question that I want to laugh about. Anthony, are you joking with me? Anthony asked, how many unsubscribes are you getting on a daily basis? I don't know. I don't look at unsubscribes. A better question would be, how many sales are you getting? How many dollars are you making? That's my scorecard. I don't look at unsubscribes because they're just doing me a favor by jumping off my list because they were never going to buy from me. I look at my bank account. That's the scorecard, okay? That's right. Philip says that's Ben's scorecard. I'm like a Ben disciple, but I'm a Ben fanboy. You guys know that. So let's see. What else do we have here? Guru fanboy, damn right. proudly Guru fanboy of Ben Sentinel. That's okay. Actually, what's interesting about it is I am a Guru fanboy of all the guys on my network. And that's really how I ended up doing shows with them, is they have helped me out so tremendously, because the Podcast Factory is my second business. My first business is my real estate business. And Ben helped me do better with my rentals because I learned more about salesmanship from Ben than anybody else. And I threw in an autoresponder in my rental sequence, which shocks the hell out of people because nobody else is doing it. But I have 14 emails. When somebody goes to sign up at my apartments, they get a coupon and they get a 14-day daily email sequence inspired by Ben. And that gets me more phone calls and appointments than anything else. Then you look at Doberman Dan from Off the Chain. I was having trouble with renewals, and I dreaded going knocking on doors to get renewals. And I listened to an interview between him and Ben where he tells me, well, he didn't tell me, I felt like he was telling me to do more direct mail. And I'm like, damn, why didn't I think of this? So I started doing more direct mail for my renewals, and I did a postcard, 2 letters, and a phone call, and my renewals shot through the roof. And so first time I ever did that, it was like 50K in renewals, and I was like, damn, Doberman Dan, you know what you're talking about. Who else? Jim Yagi helped me with a lot of positioning in my business and doing my pay-per-click right. I don't even know who else is on my network. Ben helped me. Making Agents Rich, Darren Persinger helped me years and years and years ago just get my head on straight. So I am a fanboy of these guys, and that's why I started doing shows with them, and now it's turned into something that's bigger than me. And the reason I did it was because they helped me out so much that not only did I want to help them out, because that's important to me, but I also wanted to help all you guys who listen to the shows, because I know these guys are the real deal, and I wanted to bring them to you and make sure that you had the experience that I was able to have. All right. Let's see if I have any more questions here. I'm going on and on. We're getting close to the end. That's a scorecard. Guru fanboy. I still like it. So Anthony asked, how did you persuade Ben to give up so much of his time for you? Actually, it wasn't like that at all. Ben wanted to do a podcast, and he was lucky to get my help to produce it. Don't put people on a pedestal. Yeah, no, but it was a mutual thing because Ben and I had worked together before. Ben knew that I could deliver, and we decided to work together. And now it's a couple of years into it, and it's working out really great for us. All right, what else? So Max asks, selling, are we selling one thing or can we sell more than one thing without being too messy? Is one thing to sell a whole shot via email and another to do in a podcast? What I'm looking at, and this is like a Russell Brunson thing where he talks about that ladder, the ascension ladder, and I think it's tidier to focus on one thing and then move them up the ladder. That's the way I'm looking at it. And the way I do with my emails is, since I don't have a podcast of my own, the way I do with my emails is all month I'm going to sell the podcast and Google newsletter. That's what I'm going to focus on 3 weeks out of the month. Then the first week, like this week, I'll do some price anchoring by offering my consulting, which is $500 per half hour, or offering my production services where it's an application fee. And then after this week, I'll go back into promoting the newsletter, and it'll look like such a deal because I price anchored the first week. That's the way I'm doing it. You can do however you want. If you look at what we do at the Ben Settle Show, the only thing we're selling there is to opt into the list, because the list is actually where we do all our selling, because they listen to the show, we get them on the list, and Misty hits them with daily emails for offers. That's the way that we have it structured. Thanks to Steve Rosenbaum for posting this blog. Oh, thank you, Steve, promoting us, huh? Steve and I have a call in about 30 minutes. I have not forgotten about you, my friend. All right, I see more messages coming in. All right, so feel good about this. Maybe I need to start podcasting sooner. All right. This blab has served its purpose. All right, so any other questions? I will do one more question if anybody else has a question right now, or we will wrap this thing up because I said 30 minutes. Hopefully you guys have gotten some value. I'm Jonathan Rivera from thepodcastfactory.com. If you can't tell, we help you get on top. Yep, get on top. Oh, yeah. So, Philip, thank you, Jonathan. Oh, the Igor accent. That's where I knew your name from. I love that Igor accent, Jonathan. That's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, gang. So this is it. I don't know how to shut it down, but I'm going to figure it out. Thank you guys for being here. And if this was useful, share it. Email me and let me know. I'll do it again. And keep rocking and rolling.